When you're ready, lift your hand.
I'll bring a boat.
You're bringing a boat?
Yeah.
No, you can't bring a boat. You're stuck there for a year.
Cheater.
So now you're stuck there for a year with a boat that has a hole in it. So you're pretty much messed up. You're stuck there for a year. Who else has it? Tell me. 3 things. 3 things.
Dang. What would you bring on an island if you already had food?
1 piece of music and any other item. Anything else you want.
What do you mean by 1 piece of music?
Just a piece of music. What piece of music are you going to listen to for a year?
Like 1 song?
You ready?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll bring classical music, a journal, and a pencil.
Okay. That's good.
You're going crazy.
A journal, so you can write down your experiences for the year, and you know you have the Bible, so you're going to be reading that, and classical music to listen to. Unfortunately, you don't have anything to listen to the music on.
Wow.
Bah.
Anyone else? Okay. What's your name?
You can ruin everything, can't you?
All right, Eric. What are you bringing?
I'm bringing R&B,
Okay.
the book War and Peace, and an iPod.
Okay. Now, see, he's smart. He brought his iPod with him.
I got it.
Jared.
I'm going to bring a laptop. I'm going to bring a converter for solar energy. And I'm going to bring something to purify water.
Okay.
I'm
so
about
you
to
bring
live,
one
y'all.
book. You decided not to bring that. You could bring 1 piece of music. You didn't bring that. And you can bring 1 luxury item.
No,
So either the
it's a
converter,
notebook.
it's the
laptop.
notebook or the solar power. So you pretty much messed that up. What do you got?
The Hunger Games? Yeah.
You stole my idea!
The Hunger Games?
I can like do what they did in the
It's only going to last you a day.
You don't have a sponsor.
a bow and arrow.
A bow and arrow.
That's my luxury.
That's your luxury item, bow and arrow?
Wow.
Piece of music.
Like the lyrics, so I can sing.
All right. Okay. Next one.
Dang, what song?
Okay. That's okay. You'll get a chance to play too. Don't worry. Okay. Second scenario. There's been a fire in your house. Now everybody's safe. Thank God. Nobody got hurt. But you have 30 seconds to go in your house and grab 1 item. Only 1 item. What are you going to take?
My dog.
Your dog. You don't have a dog. You do? You got a dog?
If not, I'll be divorced.
Oh, that's right. You do have a dog. Okay. That's nice. Save a pet. 1 item. What is it?
Hmm.
Come on. Who said that?
My iPad.
You're bringing your iPad. Pastor Jimmy's bringing his iPad.
My grandma.
Tyler,
Grandma.
you're bringing what?
My phone with TLC.
You're going to go back in and grab your phone. Okay?
Why don't you have your phone?
Tyler,
Gold.
gold. You're going to grab gold?
We don't have
All of your
gold.
gold in one place?
Where's your gold at? Let me come to your house.
Where is that exactly?
Hey.
Your investments? What are you talking about? Like what? You have 30 seconds to run in the house and grab something.
Grab my silver and other stuff.
Okay, so you and Todd are in the same boat. You're running in the house and you're grabbing physical, whatever you can,
Money.
physical investments.
My wallet.
Your wallet,
My music.
your music. What are you talking about? Do you have sheet music that you've written, or you yourself you've composed music? Okay, so you're grabbing. Why are you shaking your head?
I'm getting my cards.
You're grabbing your music.
Jared's getting his Yu-Gi-Oh card.
Jerry. Anyone else? Your socks? Your socks. See, you should be in my house because we have a war over socks in my house. I can almost appreciate that. Johan?
I was going to say my guitar, but it's under warranty. So.
You're just like really thinking this through. What about you, Aaron? What are you going to grab? It better be that iPhone. I'm telling you right now. Scrapbook? You're going to grab the biggest scrapbook you can find. Okay? Yes. Memories. Anybody else? Anybody else? Nobody? Okay.
That's
All
right, boo.
Now I want you to remember, we're going to come back to that. There's a reason I asked you these questions. Now, before I get started, I want to say, first of all, for the youth elders, thank you for inviting me to come tonight.
Hey.
I would Jared, yes. And for those of you watching this later on, that was his very close, furry face you just saw on the video.
Hey.
When Elder Jared asked me if I would come and speak to the youth, I was very excited. I'm very happy to be here. It's an honor and a privilege to be here speaking with you tonight. And I hope that between tonight and next week, that I'm able to impart some things to you that I think are of value. The next thing is I know most of you know who I am. I'm known by many different titles. I'm Elder Danny, Pastor Danny, Johan's dad, Aaron's dad, the twins' dad, Pastor Angelica's husband. I'm usually known by those things more than anything else. But you may not know about me. So I want to give you just a little bit of background about me because I want you to understand. First of all, I'm not telling you these things because I want to impress you. I'm telling you these things because I want you to understand that I know that which I'm about to speak to you about. I have experience in these areas. And the experience I have in these areas is because God has given me some grace in these areas and some talents. So my first business was right after I moved out of my house in 11th grade. And I have been a serial entrepreneur since then. I'm not suggesting you should move out of your house at 11th grade. So don't
Some
go
of
to your
you
parents
should.
and say, Pastor Danny said we should all move out of our house.
They're over 20.
So I have been a serial entrepreneur. What that means is I have had my own businesses and I've created new businesses. I've been an entrepreneur, which means I've had my own businesses while working for other people.
Hey.
So, and that's a very good thing that you can do, especially in today's environment. My first company that I sold for 7 figures.
Hey.
I created that company from scratch. I'm very knowledgeable in computers. I'm very knowledgeable in websites. I'm very knowledgeable in finance. 25 years ago, I got my first license and degree. Went all the way up to being a stockbroker, worked with Morgan Stanley, which was the largest financial services firm at the time in the world. They are no longer. Stocks, bonds, options, commodities, you name it, I traded it. I know how to do it. I know all about it. I can tell you about it from start to finish. Our group managed over $300 million worth of investments. So I've been there, I've done that. When I was at Morgan Stanley, I was one of 7 people that were responsible for the budget of a $1 billion a year organization. That's B, billion.
Wow.
I'm telling you things tonight that I've learned along the way. I want you to know that I know what I'm talking about. I don't tell you these things again because I want you to say, wow, Pastor Daniel's so cool. No, I'm telling you these things because we all have processes by which we learn things. I want you to learn some of the things that I've learned. I've had times of great abundance, and I've had times of great scarcity. When we started our first company, my brother and I started the company, we went 2 years without taking a paycheck. But ultimately, we sold that company for a good amount of money. I will tell you that what I've learned over time is what wealth really means. And wealth is not about some of the things that we all think it's about. It's not about what the world wants us to think it about. So I want to play another little game with you. I want a word association game with you. I need 2 volunteers. 2 volunteers.
Quick.
Kim and Jasmine. Yay. Just come step right up here. I'm going to say a word. I'm going to say, can you both be one side? I'm going to say a word, and I want you to tell me, actually, you know what? Probably better if you are. I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind. Word association, I say a word, you say the first word you think of. I say a word, you say the first word you think of. Okay? Are you ready? Okay. Rich.
Money.
Wealth.
It's yellow.
Wow.
She may not be the right person to play this game. Okay. Wealthy.
You.
Rich person.
Trump.
Donald Trump? That's good. Okay. Yes. Okay. Job.
Oh, church.
Young.
Working.
Me.
Is that a word?
Do I have any other volunteers?
No, really.
Juan, come here. Go. Thank you, Jasmine. Everybody say thank you, Jasmine. Thank you, Kim.
Good job.
What was your first name? Damien, come on.
That's young Pastor Damien.
Pastor Damien? Woohoo! Just Damien? We're going to give him the t-shirt that says Just Damien. Okay.
I get it.
All right, you ready? Are you ready? Riches.
In my house.
What? One word.
The Bible.
Wealth.
People.
Wealthy.
People.
Rich person.
You.
Job.
Gold.
Silver.
Gold.
It's okay. I'm going to have Jasmine and Juan do this, and then we're really going to have fun. Diamonds. Rings. Investments.
The bank.
It's your.
Bank. Thieves.
Oh man.
Tithe.
10%.
Money.
What?
Bleh. Money.
Credit cards.
Okay, let's give it up for these two. Okay, so what we're going to talk about a little bit now is wealth. And what does it mean to have wealth? Who would give me a definition of wealth? Anybody? Anybody? What do you think wealth is? Jasmine, don't say yellow.
Okay. A lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff.
Like
Anybody
stuff.
else?
Yeah.
Okay, Todd.
Many valuable assets.
Many valuable assets. Janae,
He kind of stole my. Okay, I was gonna say an abundance of things you find in value.
an abundance of what?
Wow, Janae, that was
Of valuable things.
An abundance of valuable things. That's very interesting. An abundance of valuable things. Someone else? Juan?
I was actually going to say what she said, but an abundance of valuable things that you think are actually are valuable. It's not what other people say are valuable.
Okay, so there's a difference between what you think is valuable and what other people think is valuable.
Yeah.
Okay, so can you be wealthy if other people don't think you're wealthy?
Yes.
Oh,
Yes.
get him.
How? What is it that you can have that makes you wealthy that other people don't think is wealthy? Todd?
Time.
Time? Okay, so you don't think that people think time equals wealth? There's no wrong answers here,
No,
Todd.
it's
Cards.
How you spend that. How you spend that time.
Okay.
That's the word.
I forgot your name, I'm sorry. Eric. That's a very tough name. Family. Okay, so family is equivalent to wealth for you. Tyler? Freedom. Okay. So let me tell you what the definition of wealth. The most basic English definition of wealth is the condition of being happy and prosperous. The condition of being happy and prosperous. But the most common usage of wealth involves a narrower sense, which is abundance of possessions or of valuable products. You nailed that one, Janae.
Yay, Janae!
An abundance of possession or valuable products. Now, what's very interesting is that when we talk about wealth, we have to understand some basic truths. And let me set up some basic truths. And let me also take a poll. Who here is still in school? Just raise your hand. Still in school, either high school or college. Any type of school. Okay, so this would be easier. Who is not in school? Okay, so you've already gone through and you're out of school. Okay, good. How many years has it been since you guys have been in school? Just yell out the number.
3, 2, 5.
2, 5, 27. Thank you. Okay. All right. So in school, who remembers their math in school? Who remembers when you sat down for geometry or algebra? Okay.
Nope.
Do you remember there's something called a given?
Yeah.
Right? What is a given? A given is a law. It is a fact. It is not disputable. It is undeniable. So let me lay down some givens for you tonight.
Okay.
Number one. Anybody have a printed Bible with them? I don't. I use electronic. Hold it up. Hold up. Everybody see those things? That is the Bible. Here is a given.
Come on.
That is the holy inspired word of God. Whatever it says in there is the truth. It doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. Okay? That is a given when it comes to this church and when it comes to what I'm going to tell you about. If you have an issue with something the Bible says, if you think the Bible is just a great book with a lot of good stories in it, come talk to me later. And we'll discuss that. But as far as we're concerned tonight, that is the law. Okay? So when we talk about things in the Bible, understand that we're talking about a truth. We're not talking about this is a really cool story. And maybe I'll apply this, or maybe I won't. Or maybe I'll just take a little piece of it and apply that. That's not how it works. The Bible is the Bible. And we believe it is the inspired Word of God. So, when we look in the Bible, everyone knows the Bible is split up into two parts, the Old Testament or covenant and the New Testament or covenant. The law and then the redemption of the law. So in the Old Testament, we see that wealth originates from God's good creation. All wealth originates from God's good creation. So when we talk about wealth and we talk about what should we be looking for wealth, we need to understand the source of wealth. Because if you don't understand the source of something, then you don't understand what it is you're trying to obtain. So we know that all wealth originally comes from God. And that starts in Genesis 1:26. If you look it up, you'll see that wealth comes from God and man was given dominion over it. So we definitely have the opportunity to obtain wealth. The patriarchs of our faith were wealthy. They were all wealthy. If you look back all through Genesis, you can see Abraham was blessed. He had many herds, and he had many people that worked for him, and his family was large. That was a man that had many blessings. He was wealthy. God materially blessed the Israelites in Goshen as a testimony to the Egyptians, so much so that the Egyptians, the most powerful nation on this earth at the time, were afraid of them and enslaved them. Okay? So we know that wealth was there. We see it when the Israelites were en route to Canaan. We see it all through Deuteronomy. The law assumes that there is worth in private property. When we look in Deuteronomy, we see that the Israelites owned land. God told them, what you see, all these fields, they're yours. And that was a byproduct of wealth. So we understand, and I'm telling you this to lay the basis, that wealth is of God, and wealth is for us as God's children. Now, it's very important that you understand what I'm going to tell you tonight, because there is a blessing and there is a curse when it comes to wealth and the way you behave with it. True wealth is dictated and released to you based on attitude, or what I like to say, based on your heart. And that's what we're going to talk about tonight. Tonight we're going to talk about and lay the groundwork for, can you handle the truth? Because if you can handle the truth, then next week I'm going to show you the secrets that are in that book that tell you how to have wealth. Not wealth like bling bling Kanye West wealth. Wealth like God intends for you. Because that's important. You understand that what we see, what the world tries to show us as wealth, is not. It's fleeting. And if you ask anyone who's had significant amount of money and things, they're fleeting. Now, you guys may not see that because you may still be in that place where, if I just had a little bit more, if I could just get a little bit. How many of you are working? Okay, for those of you who are working, how many of you rely on that for your sole sustenance? In other words, there's no daddy or mommy or boyfriend or girlfriend or husband or wife at home that makes up the difference. Okay? So most of you are working, but it is not your sole sustenance. So with you guys, when you think about wealth, when you think about money, when you think about material things, you are in a section of your life that is very easy to fall prey to if I just had a little more. If I could just get a nicer car. If I could just get a few $1,000s. Whatever it's worth, my life would change. And it's very hard for you to see from someone else's perspective that that's not what it's about. I'm going to try to show that to you tonight. I guarantee you, coming from someone who's had a lot of money and a little money, and everywhere in between, the true wealth and the true authority and the true power and the true prosperity is not in how many dollars are in your bank account. It's not in how much money you make a week. It's in what you do with the provision that God gives you. And how you use that. And you will see as we talk tonight that that is the key to wealth. God is looking for the heart. There is a serious responsibility on wealth. And if you can't handle the responsibility, let me tell you right now, you don't want the wealth. Because there's a curse that comes with not using the wealth appropriately. Just like there's a blessing that comes with doing the right thing. So, let's continue the journey. As we continue on through the Old Testament, we see in Leviticus that tithes and offerings of the best of one's good are required to go to the Lord. This is the first time we really see about tithes and offerings. We see that creating genuine sacrifice and generous provisions have to be left behind for the poor and the aliens in the land. So if you're entrusted with wealth and you're keeping that wealth here, for you ladies, maybe it's in your purse or your front pocket, but if you're keeping that wealth here, God's not going to trust you with more because that's not what he wants you to do with it. You can see that in the scriptures. You can see that in Deuteronomy 14, 22, 29, Leviticus 19, 9 and 10, Deuteronomy 15, 4 through 11. There is a mandate for what you have to do with your wealth if you want God to continue to provide for you. God is looking for people he can trust. God is looking for character, and he's looking for heart. And only when those things are shown can you be trusted with wealth.
Wow.
So first, you have to understand what's required of you before you can understand how to obtain it. As we continue through the scriptures, everybody knows about Solomon, right?
Yes.
King Solomon. What was King Solomon called?
Wise.
The wisest king in all the earth. Why? So what do we know about King Solomon that is significant to wealth?
Silver wasn't worth anything.
Well, he was given a choice, right? He was given a choice. Ask what you will of me, God said. And what did he ask for? Wisdom.
Understanding of heart.
Understand.
A heart of
Understanding of heart. Right. And what did God give him?
Gave him that and everything else.
God. That's right. God gave him that. In fact, the scripture specifically tells us that he had more prosperity than any other king. He became the wealthiest king ever.
Yeah.
And what happened? What happened to him? Anybody know?
He went out bad.
Yeah.
He went out bad. Yeah.
Many wives.
So let me understand. Let me make sure you understand. Solomon did the right thing. He was considered the wisest man on earth. He was given great treasures and great wealth because his heart was in the right place. But what happened to him?
Didn't have to care.
What happened to him was the wealth went to his head. It affected him. You see, when you get to the point where you think that what's in your pocket has to do with what you did and not what God did, wealth has now overtaken you. It's not about you, it's about God. It's about the heart and it's about God. Solomon forgot that. Solomon he was worshiping idols by the end of his days. Idolatry was okay with him. This was the wisest king in all of the land. God talks about him in the Bible. He sets him out. He says, you're so wise and you ask for the right thing. You're so much after my heart. I'm going to give you everything. And everything corrupted him. And he's known as that. So you need to understand that the provision, Jared said it great a few weeks ago, the provision comes from God. As soon as you think the provision is about you, as soon as you think it's anything that had anything to do with you, oh, I'm so smart, I'm so great. No, you're not. It's all about what God does. It's all about what God puts in you. It's nothing about you. And what the human condition is, the fall of man is, that we can easily be ensnared by those things of the flesh. We can easily be ensnared by these great things like, I am so good. I have done these great things. I drive a nice car. I wear nice suits. I have beautiful rings, and I'm so smart. And I know the right moves. Remember the movie? It's probably before all your time. Tom Cruise, All the Right Moves? All the right... Now you've never heard of it. Yeah. Watch it. It's a good movie. So, all the right moves, right? No. All the right moves are when you shut up and listen to God. And as soon as you figure out that it has nothing to do with you, that God can use a donkey, God can use a burning bush, and God can use you too. Okay? All right, so that's... I didn't actually say it. It's in the Bible.
You wanted.
I didn't say ass, okay?
Pastor Danny, I'm recording.
Okay, so at the very moment that Solomon's wealth was the highest it's ever been, more than anyone else, Solomon fell to idolatry. And that led to a series of kings throughout the land that were more and more abusive than Solomon. We see, one of the worst that we see is when we see Ahab. Ahab thought everything was about him. And Ahab was one of the worst kings in all of Israel's history. So, understand this. Wealth itself is supposed to be a blessing. God designed it primarily as a blessing. What happens is, as humans, we distort that because we succumb to the dangers of wealth. And it does not become a blessing for us, it becomes a curse. Look at Job. Remember the story of Job?
Yep.
Okay. What are some of the things that we know about Job? He was extremely wealthy. He was a great man. He had great health. He had great wealth. He was a man without sin. He was a man that God used him because he was so pure. And he allowed Satan to do all those things to Job. But we know for a fact that he was extremely wealthy. And we also know that when he came through all his tribulations, because of his heart, what did God do? Doubled. Yeah. So you understand that there is scriptural basis for wealth. And there's scriptural basis for the abuse of power and falling to or succumbing to the powers of wealth. Okay, so now, we see in Psalms and Proverbs, and we're going to talk a lot about Psalms and Proverbs next week, because if you read Proverbs, Proverbs is a guidebook to wealth. You could take Proverbs and you could just take one proverb every week and follow what it says, apply that to your life, apply that to business, and you will be wealthy. Okay, but so in Psalms and Proverbs, we see that wealth can be a reward for industry or righteousness. However, we also see that as many times as it can be a reward, it can also be the ill-gotten product of wickedness or hostility, in which case it's better to be poor. And you can see that in Psalm 37, Proverbs 15, 16, and 17. And this is why I said earlier, you need to understand the responsibility of wealth and count the cost. Because if you can't live up to it, it's better for you to be poor and destitute than to be wealthy and turn your back on God. Because that's the degree that it can turn into. You have to have the character. You have to have the heart. Okay. We see biblical wisdom stresses the transient nature of earthly wealth. And I'm sure you've all heard of that. You can't take it with you, right?
Right.
If you have a beautiful house, a tornado can come and rip it away. An earthquake can take away your whole block. A hurricane can wipe it out. You can have a great car, get into an accident, like that, it's gone. You could have plenty of money in the bank, and the IRS can come take it. So, earthly wealth is transient. What's not transient, however, is the wealth that you build up in heaven. And that's why the character is so important. So we're going to cover a lot more about that next week. But understand that the way you build up treasures in heaven are the things that you do here on earth. And once again, throughout the scriptures, Psalms and Proverbs, what you do with your wealth to help the poor and the needy is a huge test of your character.
Right.
And it's what God is looking for.
That's right.
He talks about the widows, talks about the orphans, talks about children. So remember that, and we've talked about it many times before, the concept of tzedakah or righteousness. It's about how you treat others. It's not about how you treat yourself. So that's a very important thing when we talk about wealth. Throughout the scriptures we see, even though Judah and Israel know better, they try to amass property while ignoring God's moral standards. And in Isaiah, you see the results of that. They trust in ritual worship rather than true repentance. And you see the results of that in Jeremiah. They extort, rob, and oppress the poor to gain more land in Ezekiel and Micah. They boast in their wealth in Hosea. They travel or they revel in their affluence in Amos and Habakkuk. And they cannot wait for the Sabbath to end so they can make more money in Amos. Their leaders' motives for ministry were largely financial in Micah. And this leads you up to Isaiah, when Isaiah says you're supposed to seek justice, encourage the oppressed, defend the cause of the fatherless, and plead the case of the widow. All of those things are as a result of money and wealth. And trust me, if it can affect an entire nation, it can affect you. You have to guard your hearts against it.
Hey.
So, the point of all this is, with increased privilege carries increased responsibility. Governments and economic institutions today are not theocracies, but they may still be judged on how they meet the needs of the powerless and the dispossessed. Excuse me. And that's why it's important to understand these concepts of wealth. So, sometimes we don't necessarily understand a rule or a law, nor do we necessarily agree with it, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. Everybody, can anybody in here explain to me the law of gravity? No, that's the result of the law of gravity. Can you explain to me the law of gravity?
There is a light and a dark side of the force.
These are not the droids you're looking
Yeah.
All nerd on us.
for. I need someone to explain to me why that fell down.
Johan.
There's a force.
Because the sun and the planets are like.
There's a
You-
force
but you actually know that.
down.
Okay.
The force
now,
of attraction.
would y'all agree with me? There has not been a good explanation of that yet,
Yeah.
right?
I said God,
Okay.
that's great.
So
God is-
nobody can explain that to me.
Oh.
Can anyone explain to me why, when you flick that light switch that's right behind you, those lights go on?
they're wired.
torches and stuff.
No, explain to me how it works.
MC squared.
Inside the wiring.
Okay. So once again, we have a pretty poor explanation, but it still works, right?
Yes.
Right. And the reason that this happens, not me drinking, but the thing dropping, is because the law of gravity is the law of gravity, whether I believe it, whether I understand it, whether I've been told about it, it's still the law.
Yeah.
There are laws in the Bible that whether you agree with them or not, whether you understand them or not, whether you have knowledge of them or not, are still laws.
That's good
And
preaching.
that's why you can see in the world, there are biblical precepts which are being put in place by worldly people and worldly organizations, and they are receiving the same return that we should receive as Christians, understanding the book, understanding the Bible. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so here's what I'm talking about. This is a list of the top 50 largest corporate foundations by the amounts of money they give away. These are secular organizations. Of these top 50, the highest amount of giving in 2011 was $500 million in that 1 year. There's 50 organizations. The lowest amount of giving, I think, is $17 million.
Wow.
This represents billions of dollars of giving. Who would like to guess how many religious organizations are on this list?
Oh no.
None.
None.
Oh my goodness.
None. They don't give away that much money. Okay, so why are these secular organizations giving away so much money?
Because of the law.
Because why? They know there is a law about giving to get.
That's right.
So they know that as good corporate citizens, as they might call it karma, thank you.
Yeah.
They might have all kinds of names for it. They can't put it down in black and white. They can't say, well, God said,
Right.
because they have stockholders, although some of these people might be godly people. I'm not saying they're not godly people. I'm just saying there's no religious organizations on this top 50 list. The point is that the world understands these principles better than the Christians do. The law applies whether you're following God or not following God. The blessing and the curse still applies.
Yeah.
These organizations, you're talking about some of the most well-known companies in the world that have foundations that all they do is give away money. Now, sometimes they give away money to just really dumb things. Did you know the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation is the largest charitable organization in the country? They have over $34 billion in assets. The last year that they reported was 2011. They gave away almost $4 billion in that year. They mostly support education and health initiatives. They also support other things. Now, why do you think Bill Gates does that? Because it's all his money, basically. He does that because he understands that there is a law out there. There is a principle which he can tap into, which a lot of these guys have tapped into. The wealthy operate different than most of us. So let's take a little quiz. All right, you guys ready? You got something to write down with?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to ask you a question and you're going to score yourself. Be honest. Here's